Good evening and welcome to the Town Board meeting of July 21st, 2026. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kopstein, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could all remain standing for a moment of silence as we pray for those lives lost in the Middle East and for all of our troops that are defending our freedoms and all of our first responders out there every day for our community. Thank you. Okay. We will have introductions starting to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Patrick Murphy, Town Council.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Sergio Esposito, Deputy Supervisor.
Councilwoman Susan Siegel.
Alon Gilbert, Town Councilman.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
All right. Report from Town Supervisor. I had two things, but one of them showed up, so I'm going to donate some of my time to Jim after our attorney if he has anything to come up. And then I just wanted to talk about the TRA group. They are doing it's Transportation Resources and Access. They are doing some shopping buses. They leave on every Tuesday. You can call them and register. It's 914-764-3533. And what they do is they have buses that will be at Beaver Ridge, Jefferson Village, and the Muse. And it seems like most of the time they will either go to Walmart in Cortlandt Manor and ShopRite in Cortlandt Manor. And there is 1 week in the month where they do Trader Joe's in Yorktown and the Beach Shopping Center in Peekskill. But it's a free service for seniors. They just need to register. You could call my office and speak with Cindy. Just call Town Hall, extension 200, and she will help you out with that to give you the information. And we will put this up online as well. We did reach out to them today because they seem to have missed one of our major senior communities in Windward Oak in Mohegan Lake. So we have in Shrub Oak. And we have asked them to try to see what they could do to add them to the list. So we will update that as soon as we can, and we will keep annoying them until they do it. So,
Ed, who's paying for this if it's free? I'm sorry, did I miss something?
It is called the Transportation Resources Access, TRA. It's the former Ride Connect. This is what they've become now.
Okay,
So,
and that money is from the county or?
I believe it's a county program, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Lonnie?
All right. For those who watched last week's meeting, I received a chuckle at the expense of the state of New Jersey. For those old enough, you'll remember in 1976 there was a television segment that year, Today's Bicentennial Moment. Tonight, I present today's America 250 moment, or my quincentennial minute. As we celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary, we honor New Jersey, the literal crossroads of the revolution. 5 brave New Jerseyans signed the Declaration of Independence, officially putting pen to paper on August 2nd, 1776. Among them were Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, no relation to John C. Hart, and Abraham Clark. New Jersey was the 3rd state to ratify the U.S. Constitution, cementing its place in our founding foundations. On Christmas night in 1776, George Washington led his famous icy crossing of the Delaware River. This daring move led to the stunning, morale-boosting American victories in Trenton and Princeton. New Jersey's landscape holds the blood and resilience of our ancestors. The Continental Army spent 2 brutal winters in Morristown, enduring conditions even harsher than those of Valley Forge. From the battlefield of Monmouth to the everyday citizens who fed the Army, New Jersey didn't just witness the fight for freedom, it helped shape it. New Jersey was the path taken by Rochambeau from here to the Battle of Yorktown. So just to clarify, contrary to my remarks of last week, I appreciate and I love New Jersey.
Did someone from New Jersey call you?
No. I like it.
It sounded like Governor, is it Murphy over there? I think he called you and complained.
I have a niece who lives in New Jersey.
Ah,
The truth reveals itself.
Susan,
Other than that, I don't want to take up any more time.
All right. Since we seem to have deleted from the agenda this thing at the very end of the resolutions, old and new, let me just go through some of the issues that I would like to get updates on. There were several issues that had been brought up at previous meetings that I think we didn't get answers to. So I'd like an update on what's the status of the letter to the residents in the Halleck's Mill District who are on septic systems and who would be eligible for the county funding. Has the letter gone out? Is in the process of going out? Also, I'd like an update on the RFP for the EMS, for our medical, for our ambulance corps. What's the status on that? There's been some back and forth to finalize the text. I'd like to know what's happening with that. I also asked at the last meeting if the meeting has been scheduled for the committee that's going to look into our 485B tax incentive program. I didn't get an answer to that. I'd like to know if they meet, because we created that meeting several months ago, and I think more than a month ago we appointed the last member, so I'd like to know when that committee is going to meet. Also, we talked about the sign law, and I think you said the building department was working on some changes to the sign law. What's the status
I think
of that?
didn't I send that to you last week?
Yeah, but I think that was a very
Right,
sketchy
but-
kind of a
But
thing.
I should, yeah.
If that's all that they're doing, that's not
No,
that
I'm
remarkable.
I'm putting that to our law, and,
But that's not very much, and there were even problems with that one.
right, but I assumed you wanted to comment on some of it, Susan.
If that was the only thing he was talking about, it was mostly signs and windows, which I don't think had ever been brought up.
It wasn't just signs and windows. When you read down there, it's about the actual signage for stores. A lot of municipalities actually focus on the window signs
Oh, I'm not,
versus other things.
but is that the extent of the changes that are being recommended?
No.
For example, I didn't see anything about the fact that our current law, which is many, many years old, prohibits the digital signs that have now become the go-to type of a sign. So we obviously have to
Right.
update that.
course.
That's a very
Yeah.
technical issue. Also, I just want to talk about the cell tower law. I just want to let the community know that I sent the town board an email where I outlined several of the general issues that I think the board has to discuss in terms of what we want to see, the types of issues we want to see discussed in a revised cell tower law. If you remember, our law dates back to 1988, and it's very, very sparse. Some of the issues, again, these are just general topics, not the specific.
Susan, I'm sorry, I literally just spoke to you about this
Well-
regarding the fact that we're going to bring in an attorney who works with this. We're going to vote on it today and have it at a work session so there could be input and so that we could have that. I don't think it's appropriate to waste everyone's time going over something that we spoke about, that we all know about, that the public knows that we're doing it. We just set the moratorium. I don't understand what your objective is to read through your list. If you want to publish it on your blog, people could see it. I just don't understand where you're going.
I had written this note before I left to come to town hall, just to clarify, and you told me about 2 minutes before the meeting started about the Fishman resolution, which I have no problem with, which I'm glad that the expert will be there because he can give us input from a technical point of view, what needs to be
Right,
needs
so
to be
can we,
included.
can we save the suspense for, and build the suspense until we
Can
have
this
that
be-
meeting?
Can this be in August? You scheduling it? you
That's
think?
what I'd like to do, providing he's able to, yes.
Fine, okay. The other issue that I'd like to bring up is this was raised at the last meeting, the need for possibly combining education on the safe e-bike use. And thank you for having that press conference where creating the bike safety unit, which I think is a very good idea. But I think we need, in addition to education on how to ride safely, we possibly need some legislation that goes beyond what the state law does. And the state law gives municipalities the option to go beyond the state law. So I'd like to talk about that, and I will be sending the town board some samples of what other municipalities in Westchester have done. Again, I'm not saying this is what we should do, but these are some of the options. For example, prohibiting them not just for e-bikes, but also regular bikes on sidewalks. All sidewalks or only some
They're
sidewalks in
actually,
the hamlet?
they're prohibited on all sidewalks. So.
E-bikes, but not bicycles.
No, bicycles are too.
I don't know.
Bicycles are prohibited on sidewalks. You're supposed to
In our
drive.
local law?
It's New York State law. So let me address your issues for you
So
real
those
quick.
are some of
What
the
was
issues
what
that
was the
I'd like-
first one that you had spoken about?
The septic, what's the status
Oh.
of the septic letter?
You know what, I apologize. I did go to see Gary, who was out sick, and I did not follow up, but I will,
All right, and the EMS RFP?
Cindy will send me a message to
You want
him.
to give us an update on the status of that?
EMS RFP, as we had the discussion, everyone answered back to me, some separately. Lonnie did a group. Everyone is agreement with sending it out as is, except for yourself. I already spoke about the reasons why I disagreed with your thoughts, so since I have 4 members of the board who want to send it out, we will get that out tomorrow. For the 45B, we have reached out to the members. I believe there's been a problem because of people out on vacation, because July and August are heavy vacation months, but Cindy is following up on that, as well as with the accessories board, as we're going to be adding 2 new members there to be able to get them up and running. For the sign law, I spoke about, we are looking at more than that. I did ask them to take a look at some of the store stuff, because that's been a big issue, and I know Jason had some comments, which I don't know if I forwarded or not. The cell tower law, we put in the moratorium, we spoke about the law, and providing that Doug Fishman is able to come in next month, we'll have him for our work session. But Adam already did speak to him. He's definitely interested in doing it, and I felt confident with him when he was here for the hearings on the Granite Springs cell tower. And finally, with bike safety, I already have a commitment from Dr. Hatter to be able to distribute law and flyers with the laws within the school. I'm waiting for Dr. Gagliardi to get back to me. Chief Foley is working with Officers Uhl and who's our other traffic right now? Actually, no, it's Ellsworth, but I don't know if I don't know. For some reason, I think he mentioned Roar as one of the other ones, probably because of his knowledge and being in the schools. But they are looking at the current New York State laws, some of the other laws, and looking to see if we could make ours a little more effective, I think might be the best word. The biggest problems in New York State come from the fact that you can ticket the parents if you can find them. We have a lot of educational issues. I've also asked Jim Materano to consider having a course where we actually teach bike safety. And I asked the schools to consider it as well, as they used to do driver education. And they can hopefully be able to, we could catch the kids at different levels, even if we add it to something, because there seems to be an educational awareness issue, not only for the children, but for the parents. And if we can offer like a one-day class, and, you know, for some reason, if it's something that we have to waive fees on, I don't particularly have a big problem with that if we just pay for an instructor. If it's like a 4-hour course or something, and then we could give them a certificate. We could talk about some type of a registration program, but I also don't want us to be too in
Overregulate?
yeah, too intrusive as a government in like, I don't want a kid to be able to ride a bike. That's not the
Yeah,
purpose.
no, we don't want
But we need to have those partnerships. I've been building those with our police, our schools, and with Parks and Recreation. So as we get a little more through this, I know that it's hard once again for the schools with the summertime, but as we get a little more through this, we will hopefully be able to flesh something out and bring it in for the beginning of the fall.
Okay, good. I think, yeah, and I'd add a suggestion, in addition to giving the presentations in schools, which I think is a great idea, having our bike police officers give a presentation here at a meeting, which is televised, and the parents could see that, because if the kids don't come home and tell the parents, hey, gee, I'm only 15 and not allowed to ride an e-bike, right? The parents have to also know what the laws are.
I've also asked them to set up at any community function with the bike unit,
Yeah.
with the police department.
I'd just like to go back. I'm glad the RFP for the EMS is finally going out. I'm disappointed in some of the content. I won't spend the time now discussing what my objections were to the RFP. I will save that for some future date. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, you already have.
Not publicly.
Yes, you
Yes, you
have.
have.
I think several times, but anyway, no, I mean, you have concerns, and they're important to all of us, so.
I'm glad it's finally going out since it's been 7 months.
Go ahead, Sir Joe.
All right. So anyway, a couple of things on the e-bikes. I think New Jersey just passed a whole bunch of ordinances. I think they're requiring registration, license plates, and I think they set the age that you could ride an e-bike to 15. New York actually has that law. In
New York is
it's
16.
But I think that taking the steps toward having a bicycle unit with the PD that's going to be hands-on, I think that's going to help, because it's really about an enforcement issue, and I don't want to talk about kids riding their e-bikes, breaking the law, because they're kids, and but the bikes are they go very fast, and and sometimes you can't control it, and I think they go faster than our speed limit in the town. So
They do.
So there are some, yeah, I know. So there are some issues, and we really have to kind of figure out, just like you said, take the laws from certain areas, and I think mesh them together. Like I said, New Jersey just came out with a whole bunch of regulations, some of which are very strict, but address the issue. And maybe we don't have to be that strict, and maybe the educational component, forcing, mandating that kids sit through the class. I think that's going to be something that's probably difficult to do, because of freedom laws and all of that stuff. But it is something. I know I spoke to Jay Kopstein about it, and there is a lot. I think, Jay, you had mentioned that we can do as a town. That's not state level, because really a lot of this stuff should come from the state. Anyway, Wonder has finally opened. We did the grand opening there. They're across the street. Great place, great people. Check them out. Let's get some support for our local businesses. The Yorktown Huskers are in Cooperstown this week, so I wish them the very best of luck. It's a great experience, and they're going to have a lot of fun there. I hope they hit a lot of home runs. We did have a discussion of possibly adding something for Rev 250, adding a fireworks display, at some point in August. The supervisor had asked me to get some estimates, and I think Pat will talk more about that. And I am in the process of speaking with people, getting the regulations down to where we could do it. And I did also speak to the firehouse. We'd like to do it somewhere where Jack DeVito Veterans Plaza is, and because that's where I used to do it with the chamber when we had the ball drop. But Pat will talk more about that. And other than that, there'll be a discussion coming up about possibly expanding the streetscape RFP and reissuing it. And I'll have a map to show us, and we could have a quick discussion about that, and then agree or disagree to add some stuff in. And what I'm going to be asking for is some suggestions, and then what we'll do is we'll amend the RFP and then reissue it. As per the guidance of everybody in this board. So that's it. I want to keep it brief. Pat.
Yeah, so again, as always, just go to the the John C. Hart Library and check out the events that they have going on there. And
They got a concert coming up, right?
yeah, they do. I think it's a Billy Joel.
Yes,
knockoff band.
River of Dreams.
Yes. So, and then I'm looking forward to the discussion, Sergio, about the streetscape. Just so everybody knows, the whole streetscape, we had a discussion a couple weeks ago, and until one of the engineers put the piece of paper on the table, I think the whole board sort of agreed that, why are we limiting the scope of this project? I know that the streetscape was for curbs and, trees, sidewalks, but to have a whole view and creating a little downtown and slowing down the traffic in the middle of town and doing some one-ways here and there, I'm looking forward to it, Sergio. It's going to be a great discussion. So, and then, the e-bikes, it all comes down to enforcement. It's the ATV, it's the e-bikes, it's this, we can't have a cop on every corner, but it's enforcement, and it starts at home, honestly. So, and then, last but not least is I don't know if I can talk about it, but hopefully we're going to do some fireworks on the August 23rd at the Lions Club, when they do the Tramps Like Us is playing there.
Yeah, the final concert.
Yeah, they do the final concert there, and we didn't do it on 4th of July because there was so much competition out there. So we sort of agreed to look into maybe doing one at the end of the summer, and that's where it landed. So, but that's about it.
Great. Okay.
Personnel.
Nope. Poet
Oh,
laureate,
laureate.
actually. Sergio, I know, received something from
Barbara.
Barbara McMullen.
So this is Lawrence Peter by John F. McMullen. God rest his soul. Lawrence Peter Berra, Yogi, to most, is as known to his supposed misstatements as his baseball prowess. Yet I see his famous statements as brilliance and metaphor, perhaps made with a limited vocabulary. Yogi, due to his immigrant family upbringing and World War II service, did not have much formal education leaving school after the 8th grade. My favorite one, My favorite one I've written a poem about is, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. To me, this means make a decision and follow it. Don't freeze. And I have made them, and luckily made the right ones. Another famous one is, it ain't over until it's over. Good advice for any competition, sport, legal, politics. Play it right to the end. Some seem confusing until you think about them. No one goes there nowadays. It's too crowded. We all know good restaurants that have gotten so popular that the food isn't worth the wait. It gets late early out there, referring to left field at Yankee Stadium. The stadium shadows make outfield play difficult in left field in the afternoon. The future ain't what it used to be. Recent developments in economics, politics, the world, technology, morality have the future less promising than it was. They go on and on. Lawrence Peter Yogi Berra was one smart individual and a hell of a baseball player. John F. McMullen, he wrote it in 2023. There you go.
So the restaurant he was talking about was Toot Shores that went out of business because
It's pretty funny.
it was too busy. But Yogi, you talk about smart. The Yankees, when they were in spring training, were talked into buying a bunch of property in northern Florida, and they all held on to their property, and then all of a sudden someone tried to buy it, and they were buying from everyone. Everyone sold except for Yogi. And Yogi held on, and Yogi held on, and Yogi held on. Yogi was the last one to sell his property in that area. It didn't become a subdivision. It actually became
Disney World.
Disney World. And that property is where the piece he held out to the end is where Cinderella's castle is. So he did pretty well on that real estate deal. But
He also did really well at Normandy.
yes, he did. Thank you for bringing that up. He D-Day. He was part of the D-Day invasion. Yes, and his 8 World Series rings.
I think he's got 10.
Is it 10? It could be. You know, I met him. He wasn't wearing them all. He could only fit like 3 of them on his fingers. But yeah, quite an American hero and quite an American ball player. What team did he play for?
One of the
10 World Series rings.
Yankees.
The Yankees. Yes, thank you.
When you have 10
I know
rings,
that hurts.
When you have 10 rings, do you size them for each finger? Like this is for the pinky, this is
No, they just get the size.
just wondering how it works.
All
I'll
right.
never know, you know.
So into personnel. From the Personnel Department, appoint David Teschorn to the Petition of Automotive Mechanic in the Highway Department. Appoint Bill, from the appointments to the Accessibilities Committee, appoint Bill Ma as a member of the Accessibilities Committee effective August 1st, 2026, for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2029. And please note in this that be it further resolved that due to his work with Guiding Eyes for the Blind and the extensive knowledge of dealing with people with disabilities, Bill Ma is hereby exempted from any residency requirements that may apply to serve on the Accessibilities Committee for the town of Yorktown. And then to appoint Rosanna Federico as a member of the Accessibilities Committee effective August 1st, 2026 for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2029. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Susan, were you?
Yeah.
I didn't hear. Sitting far back from your mic. All right.
I'm delighted that we have these 2 new recruits because the Accessibility Committee is an important committee because they're aware of some of the problems that we necessarily some of us who are not disabled don't see what the problems are, and this needs to be brought to our attention, and they can come up with recommendations. Some changes that they might recommend are very simple and don't cost anything. Others that are more costly is something that the board will have to decide, but I appreciate their volunteering.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So we will now open the floor for public comment, one at a time. Please introduce yourself. Only 3 minutes per speaker. If you do have anything you want to talk to the town about, please feel free to reach out to any of us on our email, our phone lines. You can find just about everyone, especially their email, if not their phone, online with Yorktown, newyork.gov, yorktownny.gov, and just look up your department that you're looking for.
Good evening, Jay Copstein. You're talking about e-bikes. It's wonderful. When Eric Adams was mayor in New York City, based on the complaints, City Council finally passed some rules. The current mayor did an executive order to stop it. I hear people on this board talking about enforcement. This board has not given the police department the tools to do the enforcement. You can't hammer a nail if you don't have a nail or a hammer. Can't do it. Okay. Yorktown has changed over the years. We moved from summer cottages and farms to a bedroom community. Our tax base requires successful businesses, and we should assist in that without too many carve-outs. Just like a manure pile may have been acceptable 20 years ago, and certain industrial uses may have been acceptable when we had a great swamp near a railroad, but not where a successful shopping center is thriving. The Great Swamp. You and I know the Great Swamp.
That was my boat. I was in the sailboat.
Route 118 is no place for a car wash. It is past time to reevaluate the needs and zoning for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
I'm going to be super quick. Jan Mucintani, Yorktown Heights. I know that we've been talking a lot about the e-bikes, and thank you for that. I think it's really important. I just want to reiterate what I mentioned last time. The responsibility is on the riders, yes, but we also, I think it bears reminding our drivers, and the conversation earlier tonight is one of that. What's allowed for bikes, what's allowed for e-bikes. Drivers have a responsibility to be respectful drivers as well and respect the other vehicles on the road. A bicycle, never mind an e-bike, is considered a vehicle. So I just want to make sure that as we're focusing on, education for our youth and making sure that the parents understand what the responsibilities are with the e-bikes, that our drivers are maybe reminded. I mean, we certainly, we can put it out on Facebook, what have you. I'll also just toss out, Scouts have a great cycling merit badge, although no one has taken me up on that yet. But I'm sure that the Girl Scouts do as well. So our scouting community is another outlet to help us get the word out about that. And then I will just give Lanny a nod for his diplomacy to make good with our neighbors to the west.
South.
Peter Cleary, 4-year resident of Yorktown. Question for the supervisor about the proposed new car wash. I'm curious as to when you first learned about this project and with whom you were originally communicated. Also, someone emailed today about the proposed car wash and you responded in a snarky way. Please refer to Felix Unger's lesson on the word assume. I think you meant that as a joke, but it wasn't received that way. And I think you owe our neighbor an apology.
Major Mike Sheridan from Pine Grove Court. Carl DiLiberto couldn't be here this evening. He sends his regrets. I'm here to speak about one of Ms. Siegel's most favorite topics. And seeing as I'm constrained to 3 minutes, by my rough calculation, I have about 32 years worth of material to cover. So to make it quicker, I'll just refer the good folks at home that if they wish to review the video of the town board's work session from the evening of May 12th, 2026, starting at about the 1 hour and 15-minute mark, they can see what the topic of discussion is. They could go to the that is at the 1 hour and 15-minute mark. At the 1 hour and 26-minute mark, they could see a very good suggestion for a public hearing that was raised by Mr. Gilbert that was quickly poo-pooed and shut down, which wasn't surprising to me because you've been shutting down the discussion from the veterans ever since 1994. You even created a separate organization, the Veterans Advisory Committee, so that you could consolidate that viewpoint into one place so that you could more effectively ignore it. You took precipitate action on May 12th, 2026 in the form of a pseudo-resolution that had some tinges of stolen valor in it. That's a topic for another 3-minute block at another time. In the meantime, I'll summarize our thoughts on the matter in 9 words. Honor all veterans at Veterans Field on Veterans Road. I'll borrow the words of Yogi Berra, an actual war veteran. It ain't over till it's over.
Thank you, Mike.
Sarah Wilson, just a quick reminder to our town board and our residents that our 30th Yorktown Repair Cafe is this Saturday, July 25th, between 11 and 3 at Grace Lutheran Church. So we've been going strong since July 2018 with a short break for COVID. And so bring, whatever's broken and we'll give it a shot to see if we can get it back into service. Thanks.
Thank you.
Michael Beeks. The e-bike issue is ultimately about safety. ER visits, traumatic brain injuries are spiking in the nation because of these vehicles. So that's really the impetus for this. And it's not just that, it's just, for some reason in Yorktown, ATVs, and especially ATVs with parents with their little kids hanging on, nobody's wearing helmets. I see it all the time. Scary stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello. My name is Anthony Pichette. I'm here tonight because I think the board is focused on the wrong danger. E-bikes have become this month's target, and I don't doubt that's coming from a real place. Complaints, concerns about how some kids are riding, maybe a close call somebody on this board witness. But before we go further down this road, I want to lay out what's actually happened on our streets in our town over the last 4 years. January 3rd, 2025, a resident was killed on East Main Street, hit by a driver who fled the scene. October 23, a 58-year-old Yorktown resident was killed on Yorktown Road at 6:54 in the morning. August 2025, Jeremy Solomon, a cyclist, was killed riding his bicycle on Route 134, struck by a driver. September 22, Jake Akara, a resident, obviously highway department worker, was killed while directing traffic. November 2022, a car drove through a parking lot, over a curb, over a retaining wall, and straight through the back wall of Papoose Creek Restaurant, where people were sitting and dining. It was the second time that exact incident happened in the 4 months previous. Five incidents, 5 drivers, 4 years, all right here in Yorktown. So when I hear, hold on, my time. So when I hear this board is focused on e-bikes, I want to be fair. I think you genuinely believe this is a problem worth solving, but I think you're solving for the wrong danger. A kid riding an e-bike because there's nothing else to do, well, not much to do for some of them in this town, and no protected way to get around is not what's killing people in Yorktown. Cars are what's killing people in Yorktown. You don't have to speculate about it. You have the evidence right here in police blotter, in the news, in our town's memory. And while we're at it, some of what's getting swept in this crackdown isn't even an e-bike. It's a scooter, a moped, a dozen different things lumped into one bucket because it's convenient, not because it's accurate. If this board genuinely wants to protect people, and I believe it does, here's where to start. Build protected bike lanes, slow down the cars, fix the intersections we already know are dangerous. I understand the instinct to regulate e-bikes, but please regulate the thing that's actually killing people in this town, not the thing that's easiest to see and easiest to complain about. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let me hit a couple things, and I'm going to actually start, Anthony, with the e-bikes, and I know you're referring to cars. So cars are regulated. They're traffic. There's traffic safety law. There's we have quite a bit of things there. 2 of the accidents in particular, one of them on the bicyclist on 134, I actually responded to that scene. It was like 7 in the morning. Unfortunately, and the car that hit the bicyclist was a Tesla and had all the camera views. That gentleman turned right into the car. He decided to make a U-turn, was not aware of what was happening around him, and drove into the car. I want to bring that one up in particular because what's happening with the e-bikes is these things move very fast. There are kids running stop signs. They're not following the law. I saw they are quiet. I saw one out in front of the Taekwondo place right here that literally drove right in front of a car, driving on the sidewalk right in front of the car, got hit. Thank God no one injured. But it's not a non-existent problem. It definitely is an issue. There's an educational issue. Jan, I love the idea about getting the scouts involved because that is a great way to also get it out to the kids. But believe me, it's not. You sit up here every day. There are 5 or 6 different things that you're dealing with, and the cars are every day, and the e-bikes are every day. We communicate with our PD, whether it's trying to get stepped up patrols, traffic duty, having them park somewhere just to watch, getting the signs up. We work at that every single day. And all of our people out there should be licensed, but some people drive without a license. They should be familiar with the rules of the road. Unfortunately, there are people that are not, and they don't do it. Our government has been guilty of giving out licenses to people who cannot pass a driver's test because they cannot speak the language. They don't recognize the signs. We need to get better as a whole, and that's a problem. It really is. I don't know if beyond our local police stepping up and us adding more people, which is not necessarily the answer, what we'll be able to do. We do have now the bike patrol, which will help in the educational part of it. It'll give some of the nails and the hammer to be able to be out there with the kids and talk to them. I know there are a lot more things, Jay, and I'd love to sit down with you as we get into this stuff and go through it. But we're gonna have to have some type of a penalty phase, and we're gonna have to work that through the town. As for the rezoning of the C3 site, that actually was zoned to C3 at the last comprehensive plan. No one seems to know. I know Susan was involved in some of it, and even her recollection, where it's normally very good, that was something that just slipped through. Just because someone brings a car wash to town, or as an idea, does not mean the town's in favor of it. We are already looking at the comprehensive plan. That's one of the things they're looking at, is all the different C1, C2, C3 zoning, and make sure that our zoning is adequate, and that's something that has been being worked on. As for the person who used to live in Yorktown that I referred to the assumption, she sent me an email, which maybe she didn't share with you, with all of these assumptions of things that aren't being done, and not in a very nice way, and it is her way of doing things. I personally have told her she shouldn't really email me, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because she doesn't want to have a conversation or get something fixed. She wants to insult people, and once again, I could show you the emails, and I could get you a couple of recordings of her yelling, cursing, and screaming at people. Unacceptable, okay? And if she wants to continue to do that, I just won't answer her emails. But she should not assume that we are not doing anything, because these are all things that are being worked on. She should not assume that if someone brings something to town, that is going to be done, because that is not how the town operates. I would hope, as a chair of one of our parties, you would understand that, and you would also understand that someone should not be so one-sided that she feels she can insult everyone who sits on the other side of the aisle. It's just unacceptable, Peter. And if you want, get together with me in my office. I'll show you the emails. She probably doesn't share a lot of that with you. And if she does, shame on her and you. Jan, and like you said, drivers do have that responsibility, but I'll keep going back to the point that we are licensed. I know we had to make a decision to take my mother-in-law's license away at one point, and New York State doesn't really, they don't retest. It's all on you. Like, I brought my mother-in-law down and spent $350 on a test for her, which was at Phelps Memorial, and it's a reflex test for drivers. And she finished in the bottom percentile, and they still didn't want to take her license away. We had to go to the doctor and say, please send a letter to DMV. And it's a shame. It becomes an enforcement issue, I guess. It becomes people that don't want to do anything about it. But sometimes we have to make that decision for our friends and family. Mike, I know I've suggested to the Veterans Committee that if you guys wanted to reapproach, I don't have a problem with it. I was asked to step out of it the last time. but you know, there became an impasse in compromise, and you know, I don't know if anything's going to make anyone happy on it, but you know, I'm sure we'd be open for a conversation, as I've stated before. Sarah, thanks for the Repair Cafe. Not only fixing things for people, but keeping it out of the waste stream is just so important. You'll be proud to know that Carol started her food scrap recycling recently, and she's probably way too into it, but it's been quite the experience, and she's really a champion of it now too. And I know we're looking to expand. I know the library is not working out, but I think Jim had some solutions on that, and I'm probably going to get Jim up next for our next discussion item, even though it's not on here. And then let's see. And Mike, you still seeing ATVs out there? I haven't really seen many lately. It seems like the e-bikes, at least in my neighborhood, have overtaken the ATVs. You back up over here. You're seeing them? And you're near the power lines back there, right? Yeah, that would make sense. All right. I think I'm good there. Anyone?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
No, you go.
Yeah, I just have some comments. Thank you all for your comments. Sometimes courtesy of the floor is the most interesting and most informative part of this meeting, even though it takes up time. First, Sarah, again, I want to thank you for the Repair Cafe. I'm looking at Michael Beeks, who many years ago saved one of my lamps. So I thank you so much. It's an invaluable service. So again, thank you for all your volunteers. Mr. Sheridan, I suggested at a recent meeting that this town needs to adopt a policy on how it wants to memorialize deceased residents. And if we had a policy, it might preclude disagreements and uncertainties that have arisen regarding the DeVito field, which has dragged on for many years because we don't have a policy. It's done on a very ad hoc basis. I did suggest to the board some general topics for what could be in a policy. I have not made any decisions on what the policy should say, but we need to have a discussion so going forward we don't have this kind of issue again. On the car wash, I think one of the things the town board is looking at how to deal with this issue, which there is concern about it. I don't think I heard the supervisor's answer to your question, Peter Cleary, about when he knew about it, but just a second.
You want me to answer that for
No,
you?
no, let me just finish my comment. As a board member and as a former supervisor, I was very concerned that I learned about this like a few days before actually about 2 weeks before the meeting, because the attorney had said it was going to be on. There was some confusion about what meeting date it was going to be on. But when the applicant said that he had had discussions dating back to last fall, that really surprised me. Now, I know as a former supervisor, I speak for myself, this is unusual, you had 3 supervisors sitting up here. There was no way I could inform my board members about everything that crossed my desk, every day. But I did make a point of giving them updates, especially if something very major came up. We had somebody came in and they wanted to do X on this land, a very significant proposal. I would let them know about it. And from time to time, as a board member, I have gotten emails saying, we've had a request to rezone X parcel. What do you think? All right. Sometimes it comes up at a board meeting, and sometimes the person is just told, go disappear. All right. But the fact that the car wash had been discussed, and apparently in such detail that they were even talking about the colors of the building, really frightened me as a board member, and I hope that going forward this doesn't happen again. Again, I know, speaking as a former supervisor, the time constraints are unbelievable, on what the supervisor has to do. But something like this, if he knew about it many months before, he should have informed the board, because we could have done something back at that time. On e-bikes, sometimes we have new phenomenon that comes up that very new, and we need regulations. As I was saying to somebody today, AI is something very new, and we're learning that we have to regulate something that we never knew about, so there are no regulations on the books. I think this is happening with e-bikes. It's a question of the safety of the cyclist, the safety of the drivers, but also the safety of the pedestrians. We've heard issues about people e-bikes around the track during nights when there were movie nights and little kids running all over the place. And it's not just e-bikes. I think we have had issues with regular bikes on the sidewalks in our Hamlet area, which has come up from time to time, and we just haven't dealt with. So it's a combination of all of the education, and thank you for doing all that you're planning to do with the education. But also, we need some regulations that says, this is what you cannot do, all right? For example, make it very clear, you cannot ride on sidewalks. Surprisingly, I saw one town that had a law that said, you can't ride on sidewalks on these streets, basically in the business hamlets. But they allowed children under 12 to ride on sidewalks with their parents. And I was thinking about many of the subdivisions in town. There aren't that many that have sidewalks, which is probably a good idea when a parent is teaching, a youngster how to ride a bike. It probably is safer to do it on a sidewalk. So it maybe should not be a ban on all sidewalks, but only some sidewalks. Again, I don't know. Requiring helmets. These are the things that belatedly we now have to look at because, as you pointed out, Michael, and somebody sent me an article about the terrible accidents, no matter how they're caused and who the fault is. You mentioned that the cyclists are at fault. I don't dispute that. But that's the education thing. So I think it's something that we have to deal with, and we have to get input from everyone. We certainly are not interested in banning bikes, e-bikes. We want to encourage cycling, all right? But safe cycling and safety for everyone concerned, and I think that's the issue, and we have to discuss just how to do it without being overly burdensome and too much regulation. Frankly, I don't see a need to register bikes. There are just too many of them. But enforcement is the issue. We have learned with the ATVs that, unfortunately, it's very difficult to enforce something because by the time you see an ATV, the policeman isn't there, all right? And there's no way of, unless you absolutely recognize who it is, and you can say, John Doe is the one who I saw, and then you get and talk to his parent. But we need something like that. The state law that has these regulations does not have any real enforcement, does not have any fines. And sometimes if a parent is fined, then the parent might crack down on their children. I don't know. But we don't have that, and state law doesn't have that. That's another thing that we need to look at. Thank you.
Susan, let me just address, as I put out in an email when you had asked the question, I was not part of the initial conversation on the car wash because the car wash is zoned, or the property is zoned for that. They came probably about 5 weeks ago and brought the same presentation that they showed you, colors, all that, and they showed to the town board, and they asked my opinion. I said, well, there are 5 board members. I do not see it as a great use for that property, and there are a lot of things to overcome. If you want to bring it before the town board, that's your choice, because once again, it's an as-of-right use, but needing some permitting. That's, to me, that's not this huge thing that's coming to town. It's something that is in a spot. It's a single use in something that it's zoned for. So when we look at it, and if we say no, thank you, for specific reasons, then that's what they have to live with. But I did not think that that this is something as earth-shattering as you're making it sound. Yes, there are people against it, and I think that there are quite a few board members against it. I don't want to speak for anyone on the initial view, but they are still entitled to exercise their rights for their property and petition the town for whatever they'd like. And I don't think knowing about it in advance on something like that, it's not like, hey, we're raising the Roma building and putting up a 3-story apartment building. Although I did hear that they looked at having a 3-story building on top, and I did hear that they're looking to come back again, just so you know.
Oh.
But I haven't seen anything. They haven't said anything. other than possibly 2 stories instead of 3, because there were parking issues. But once again, you know, that to me, if that comes to my desk, I make sure everyone knows about it, because that is an important issue. The car wash, so I don't see it as the genesis of Yorktown's being on the map or not. I see it as an administrative thing that we're going to have to decide on if they qualify for it. So.
Go ahead.
I just, couple of comments. One is, and I hope I'm not being viewed as partisan by making this statement, but I do know Peter, and I know him to be even-handed, and I think he was just responding to a post he saw, and now, Ed, you've responded in an answer to him, explaining, and I think that should just be sufficient. Jay, regarding, again, the zoning of the car wash, there are many other issues that I think the board even discussed with that project has going forward, even aside from the zoning. So they have other obstacles to overcome. And I personally, I made my position clear on that, I believe. Mike Sheridan, you have my also you have my acknowledged and you know my position on that issue. And finally, thank you, Sarah, regarding the Repair Cafe and letting people know. Thanks.
Well, going last, everything's been pretty much covered. But between what Susan and Ed and Lanny said, you know, basically they touched on everybody. And you know what, with the e-bikes, just going back to that, you know, it's all about the enforcement. It's the same thing with the ATVs. It's the same, you know. Jan, you're right. It's all comes down to educating the drivers and the parents that are thinks it's cute that the kid, you know, goes around on the sidewalks 30 miles an hour. They don't see that. They just see the kid leaving for 5 hours and don't come back, you know. And we can't control that. The police can't control that. They can control to a degree, yes, but you know, are the police going to get in a high-speed chase on someone on an e-bike? No, someone's going to get hurt. You know, they're not taking that liability. So I don't know what to say. You know, again, it all comes down to enforcement and how to do it.
So, you know, basically just on the whole, you know, the car wash thing. I mean, I saw it all over Facebook today, and everybody's like, I can't believe there's a car wash coming to Yorktown. I mean, I don't know. You know, I pointed the people to the discussion that we had about the car wash, and you know, I don't understand how somebody interpreted our discussion as us being pro for the car wash, because I think we were pretty clear that we had a lot of issues with it.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Like, our job up here is to listen. They, like Ed said, they have every right. If the piece of property is zoned for ABC and they want to put ABC in there, that's their prerogative. They have every right to come up here and put a presentation on. We don't make decisions until we listen to everything. But go ahead, Serge. That's it.
So, and I don't think it's this big conspiracy theory that, you know, the supervisor was holding out on the car wash and didn't want to tell anybody because it was this big secret, because it's, you know, so I mean, some of those comments were, I think, out of place, and you know, I learned about it a few I don't even remember, about a week or two ago. I made reference to it because when I heard about it, it was in a discussion about something else. But people come to all of us and they ask us, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? You know, it's very difficult to turn around and, you know, comment about everything to each other, right? I mean, it's just not possible, especially if you're the supervisor, right? I mean, there's a million discussions that he has. So, and I think their presentation was them speaking to us at the town board level. We get people, this is kind of like a hot button issue. People are emotional about it. I get that. I am too. But we get people that come up here and want to present something to the town and introduce their concept to the town all the time prior to them even informing us that they're coming. They ask to be put on the agenda to have a discussion about something that they want. So it happens all the time. As far as the car wash, we're looking at it. We're going through the process. I think everybody knows how I feel about it. They made reference to the fact that someone, a town board member, didn't like the concept, and that was me. And I said that. You could say it's me. I absolutely do not like it. And you'll see when we look at the streetscape, which is coming up next, part of the reason for it. But there are other issues with it that other than an emotional response, which is, not, there has to be valid reasons as to why we don't like the use and stuff like that. Now, they were here in front of the town board, and they did say, they made it sound like it's as a right. We could build it tomorrow. We don't need your permission. They were here at the town board because they need a special permit. They need a wetlands permit, and they also need wetland special stormwater. So they need those three things that have to be approved by us. Now, a lot of these things are kind of routine and ministerial things, but that's the discussion that we have to have, and then we'll see. There's also a big traffic problem that I pointed out. I said, I thought they were coming and they were going to pay for the light at that intersection, and I made comments the other night that how are you going to put all of that traffic right there without mitigating any of it? And they would say, well, we're going to go through the process. Well, we'll see what happens. But I got to tell you, I don't think based on that preliminary presentation, I don't think many of us are for this use. We don't think it's appropriate. So that's it. But and that's all. I'm gonna leave it at that, so this way we can move on.
Thank you, sir, Jim. All right, we're going to jump into discussion. One thing that's not there, which I was going to talk about in my report to the town, is some work going on at Granite Knolls. But Jim was supposed to get me some information, and he said I'd rather give it myself. So, go on, Jimmy.
All right. So many people in the public might have noticed we accepted a bid to pave Granite Knolls parking lot. So very exciting, very much long overdue at that location.
Why is it so important, Jimmy?
Paving is exciting, Jim.
Well, it's exciting to me. Yeah, exciting to me.
Why is it so important?
Because earlier we just brought 2 new people on the accessibility board, and accessibility is so important for this town. And with the current state of the parking lot, it does not make Tom Diana Park that accessible. So with this paving, it will make that parking lot way more accessible. And not only that, it will help fix the parking there. There is no lines drawn at that park, so when we do get busy, someone parks, not far enough away or too close, it creates less spots that we actually have at that park. That is a huge factor, and we have overflow that goes all over the park and non-agreed to parking spaces, including our neighbors to the north at Shrub Oak International School. We're parking up on their lawn, and people are just taking it upon themselves to park anywhere they want to see their child play ball. So, yeah, it's great to get a little bit more organized in that location and make that park more accessible. There's a lot of questions about why do it now in August. It's the summer. Why would you do it now? Well, a lot of you guys know the plants are not open in the winter to pave, so that's out. The plants don't open really until mid-April. So, the spring is our busiest time of year. So shutting the park down in the spring, that's completely out of the question. The fall is our second busiest time of year. And then the plants also do close around, I believe, November. So, early winter and late fall is out. So that kind of leaves summer. Now, July, we have a lot of sports camps taking place in that location. So that leaves July out. And August, you do have a lot of people going on vacation and way less rentals in that location. So that is kind of where we land, and it's the best place for the pavement to dry and cure in those warmer days. So that is why we selected that date. There are some issues with some pickleball players that are very upset that they're losing their precious pickleball courts, which I totally understand. We love the courts there. But I just want everyone to know that the commission, when they set the prices this year, they kept it even though we built a brand new pickleball with lights. They knew that this project may take place, and they didn't think it would be appropriate to raise the rates if we may be closing for a period of time. Now, the interesting piece of that is we increased the hour usage with the lights that we put in last year over 600 hours this year. So there's 600 more hours because of the light usage that we have, and the town is paying for those lights. So they're only losing, out of the 16 days, about 200 hours. So they're net positive 400 total hours of usage this year. So I wanted to make that clear publicly as well, that anyone that did buy a pickleball pass, you're actually getting 400 more hours than you have had in previous years. And even last year, we didn't raise the prices last year because we were going to be delayed on the open because of the construction of the brand new courts. So that's why that year we didn't increase prices as well. So prices have stayed flat because of those reasons, and we're improving our parks.
But the fact of the matter is, okay, the peak times where most people are using it is the spring and the fall.
Yes.
And you can't do it in December because the plants are closed and it's too cold.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it's a tough decision to make, and I think you picked the least peak time, and I think that's what you're just trying to articulate.
Yes.
And we had this discussion a few years ago anyway. It was the same kind of idea, and we landed in the same kind of area where we could actually do it. It is something that's necessary. It is something that's going to improve it. We're also improving other areas for handicap and everything like that. So there's a lot of net positives, and unfortunately, sometimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off and you got to do it. It's unfortunate that pickleball. That they're upset. I understand where they're coming from, but it's something that we have to do at that location. And unfortunately, given the time constraints, the asphalt and all the production, all of that stuff. So I think you're doing a great job. I mean, I think you picked the right time out of all it's all bad timing, right? I think you picked the worst time.
Yeah, a lot of thought has gone into this, and I just want to make it publicly clear and explain why we put this thought and the reason why in which we picked this time. And even late August, the kids for school, high school, are ramping up their fall season. So late August would be a problem as well. So really, this 2 weeks is the only time that we could really get
about 2 weeks. It's closed. That's it.
16 total days to be clear. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, just a question. You know that I support the paving.
Yes.
That's not an issue. I think it was today we got a copy of the DEP memo, the stormwater plan. The stormwater plan that they're using for this project is a carryover from when there was the solar project, right? And DEP said, if I'm not mistaken, that they were concerned about an amendment to it. Will this delay the project? I don't know what was involved in that, and I'm sure Joe Reno, who is involved with the SWIP, will address that. And then there was also a concern from the Conservation Board and also from the Planning Board about that some of the debris from the existing, the gravel and whatever, is going to be deposited in 2 locations, and one of the locations involves a wetland buffer, and there was a concern, and could you find some other place? So how will that impact your very tight schedule?
Joe has a plan to deposit the material across the street, across Stony Street, that we talked about at the planning board last night. And the DEP gave us a checklist of 4 items they wanted to take a look at. Joe and I are going to meet tomorrow morning and go over those 4 items. I can't really speak on the answer to all 4 of those items at this time until we talk to Joe and kind of work through those issues.
Can more of the debris go on the east side of Stony Street, so you don't have to do the portion?
That's something we have to work out with the DEP and the approval process. So we do have a plan. Hopefully the DEP is
So let me jump in, Jimmy, because I've had communication with Matt Gianetta down at DEP. He's aware of everything. We've actually vocalized what we were looking to do. He, ironically, when we were talking about bringing things to the east side of Stony, he was like, "Oh my God, yeah," and I said we're going to try to have a better parking area for the trailhead there. He's like, 2 weeks ago, I was just on that trail saying, I wish they had a better parking
Oh, we've
situation
talked
here.
about that for a long time.
So they're very in tune and in touch. I know that Joe spoke with Matt already on the letter. I've been really trying to keep abreast of all this because the timeline is we really have to be able to start by August 1st, and that's where we went.
Yeah, so I just hope with your Joe can work out whatever, because DEP needs to sign off on it.
Yeah, but I think, and Matt he's been reviewing it, and it's really not Matt's job, there's someone underneath, but she was going on vacation, so he's been stepping down to from his position as the head to make sure that this goes through. He understands the sense of urgency. I thank him and his team because, it's good when you have those relationships built that you're able to get a response, and he's really been on top of it. So
Lonnie did a site visit with us, and he really saw that across the street there is really an attractive nuisance over there that we're trying to get ahead on and fix up. So
That's
this would help that.
the ATV issue, and I was emailing you about that. So, yeah, if right now, the last time I looked, the access to this, what's going to be a supplemental parking lot, the access was blocked off. And if that's opened up because it's going to be used for needed parking, then we also have to do something to discourage the ATV users who are destroying our park.
Yep.
All right. And so Jim and I exchanged some emails about what kind of physical barriers you could do. The ATV users are very creative in terms of ignoring whatever you do.
Mhm.
So we just have to be even more creative.
Yeah, and I mentioned the Sylvan Glen trailhead that we have, and we have a bunch of big stones and a chain to block any ATVs to entering those trails. So we'll do something similar to that in that location as well.
Thank you, Jim.
I think the
Appreciate
Trail
your
Town
time.
Committee looked at
Jimmy,
that spot.
while you're there, what else are you doing up at Granite Knolls? Just so that this should all be completed about the same time, correct?
Yes. We are also putting in a beach volleyball court up at Granite Knolls. There's going to be 2 courts there, so we're hoping to get leagues in there. We've already talked to the high schools. They're going to have their high school volleyball teams participate and play up there as well. So we're very excited. From kids to adults, we'll all be utilizing that space for volleyball, which is a very much up and coming, growing sport. The boys varsity just created that sport in New York State. So men's volleyball is really increasing in volume, similar to girls flag football that you're seeing. Yorktown state champions, Lake Lane won, I think, a year or 2 ago as well. So as the sports are growing, we're trying to grow with that as well.
So when you get out there, you're going to be Maverick or Iceman?
Probably Iceman.
You do a great job.
You
That's all I
do.
can tell you.
Just tomorrow, track me down on something for the grand opening with the women's or men's now. I think they have beach volleyball league. They're actually going to be in the city at an event.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're going to Fanatic Fest, and we might be able to reach out to a couple of people I know and see if we could get them for the opening of the court.
Yep. And I know you saw my email from earlier today. I'm interested in honoring Tony Grasso before your town board meeting on August 11th. I know you may have talked to your board members about that, but
I didn't get a chance to as of yet. So just to,
I didn't want to mention publicly while I have the opportunity.
yeah. So why don't you talk about what we were
Yep.
looking at? 'Cause
So August 11th, which will be the anniversary, 2 days prior to the anniversary of Tony's passing, we are dedicating the bench outside of Town Hall to Tony, and wanted to invite not only the town board prior to your meeting, but obviously the general public, anyone that Tony's touched. We would love to be there to celebrate this great man in our town.
Yeah, Tony was great. He was active member of the community. He used to sit at all the board meetings right there, and and former councilman, and just even talking to some of the old timers from PD and all back in the day when he used to go on rides with them, and yeah, he loved the town of Yorktown. So, and I think the town really loved Tony. So
I think it's quite modest, but is definitely much needed to honor Tony.
And I think Jenny is very happy with that.
Yes, I mean, Jenny is the one that really put this all together. She deserves the most credit on getting this bench dedicated to Tony. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I totally support, honoring Tony. I've known him from way back when he was a councilman, a long, long time ago. But again, this brings up the need. I think it's time we had a policy on how to deal with this, from how the requests are made, who makes the decision, what are the different options for what kind of memorial.
Jimmy, don't we already have a process for benches?
Typically on benches, we do have a process. They reach out to me, and I oversee the wording on the plaque and or the bench, and I help facilitate the ordering of the bench or plaque as well. So benches are a little bit different than, like you're mentioning, naming a full park or doing a monument. So benches, we kind of have more of a process opposed to, monuments or naming of an actual park.
There's an inconsistency, because some you're doing, and then some of the town board, and some, who knows who's
We
doing.
don't, we don't do benches.
Not benches.
No, you don't do benches, but you do other things, so there should be a consistency in terms of.
Well, I think
If you
there
wanna
is in
s-
the benches, at least.
There is in
And
the
you've been
benches.
and you've been doing a great job, and we'll pick your brain a little bit on that.
I don't really see a problem where we have to, bloat government and have another process on top of a process for another process to have a process. I mean, we could talk about it, but I don't really see anything terrible about how we've been doing things. But
And especially with the benches, we've really improved all of our benches. We have all brand new benches over at Jack DeVito Veterans Plaza. We have benches around there, and I'm looking to take that same program, and I've already started at Granite Knoll. Some of those benches, even though it's 2018, are starting to sag. So we've already replaced 2 or 3 of those benches with memorial benches at that location as well. So, it is really working and helping create a nicer asset and remembering our public through the bench program.
Next time you see Carol, ask her. She told me about a couple of benches she noticed. So.
At Granite Knolls?
No, I don't think it was Granite Knolls. Carol shows me every dead tree, every bench that needs to be replaced. She's like on top of it. So, but
Point in my
she
direction.
pointed something. I'm sure you'll see her at one of the events coming up.
Great.
Jimmy, thank you
you
so
all.
much.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, next up on discussion, the streetscape. Sergio.
So I'm connected already. Let me pull up a map. So basically, originally,
Jimmy, can you turn off those lights so this is dark so I can see? Thanks.
originally the streetscape is, let's see if I can zoom in. Originally the streetscape that we were looking at, we put out an RFP. So the impetus of this is that the RFP was covering Downing Drive, right, and Veterans Road. And so while we were discussing the bids that came back after the RFP, after people responded to the RFP, we were sitting here and we had the map in front of us, and it's something that I've been talking about for quite a long time. The Commerce Street area, in front of the Commerce Building, that area from Papoose to the firehouse. I was like, maybe we should incorporate that. And then when we were looking at it, we were like, maybe we should have a plan for the entire downtown area. And so part of the plan, and so what I asked the board members to do is to hold off on awarding the RFP on Downing and Veterans. And let's get an RFP, let's expand the RFP to include Route 118, part of Route 118, part of Commerce Street, which is right here. Right, I don't know if you could see the mouse. Right? Commerce Street. So here on Commerce Street, where it says Commerce Street, what you're looking at right there is this is the 1940 building, 1940 Commerce Street. This is the first half of Commerce Street. So from the light on 202 to Veterans Road, that's what we're looking at. And then you could continue on the opposite side, and you'll see where the firehouse is. So while we were talking about that, I was thinking maybe we also were talking about making it bikeable. So the idea behind this is to put out a new RFP, and I had a discussion. I spoke to the town attorney on whether we could just amend the current RFP or if we should just do a new one. I know Susan was a big proponent, so was the planning board, planning director Robin, to issue a new one and let a whole bunch of people just rebid, right? And come back, see if they answer. We had 3 responses that we were looking at. We were 6, but we only looking at 3. So anyway, here's the idea. When you start at where Papoose is, that would start possibly, this is all possibilities that we want to add into the RFP, possibly making Commerce Street from Papoose all the way to the firehouse, one way, possibly with some on-street parking. There would be a bike lane that would start on Commerce Street, and it would wrap you around down Commerce Street going toward Downing Drive. The bike lane would go all the way down to where Kear Street is. So this way you could pick up the bike trail there. You would be able to pick up the bike trail right at the intersection of Downing and Commerce. And you would also be able to pick up the bike trail right next to the firehouse. Coming around Downing, that would be, again, something that a traffic study would be needed and a lot of stuff. You would be able to go, Downing would take you with a bike lane all the way to 118, where the trailhead is there, where we're talking about the car wash, coincidentally. And so this way you would be able to come off of that trail, and you would be able to bike the entire center of the Commerce area and walk. And also Veterans Road. You'd be able to bike down Veterans Road, stop at Libri, have a cup of coffee, get back on your bike, or walk. The concept of making Commerce Street one way is something that the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce and I have been speaking about for quite some time. The idea is to calm traffic, right? And redirect some of the traffic down Downing, which is underutilized. So you'd have the traffic going in on Downing, some of the traffic, half the traffic really off of Commerce Street, and you would create an environment where you could potentially park your car, you could potentially get out and walk around. There's plenty of stores. People say there aren't. I have a list of stores that you could possibly walk to in this area, and I'll go down the list. But the idea, and what I'm asking the town board members, is to hold off on the RFP for just Veterans and Downing, and expand it to include Veterans, Downing, Commerce Street, possibly putting a light at the edge of Downing where the trailhead is. So this way people could cross the street there safely, and you could actually make a left or right turn safely, because it's really treacherous, especially during the rush hour traffic, and that was part of the problem that I mentioned as far as the car wash. And then the trail, the bike path, and the streetscaping would go all the way down to Kear Street, and where the highway department is, and you could pick up the trail there. So you'd be able to pick up the trail, you'd be able to come off the trail, you'd be able to bike around the trail, things that I would see that have nothing to do with the RFP, like just like a dream. Maybe we talk to the bike shop there. Maybe he does bike rentals. He does them already. So and you could rent the bike. You could bike around. There's so many areas that you could actually go to. So that's what it is. Now on the current streetscape, we only have the first half of Veterans. We don't have the piece of Veterans Road that's in front of the Jack DeVito Field Veterans Plaza area. So maybe we incorporate that. I think Susan made a suggestion that she wanted to incorporate other areas as well. And what we want to do is we want to get a full look at what it would look like. Because when we do Downing and Veterans, if we put the bike lane on the wrong side, then it's not going to flow throughout the entire downtown area. So we want to, that's just a small nuance that we have to plan ahead. Because the last thing we want to do is do the streetscape on Veterans and Downing, and then realize 3 years from now, when we want to kind of do more of the project in other areas, that we messed up and we have to redo it. So that's what the holistic view is all about. And then what I want to do is actually phase this in once we get traffic studies and we get reports and we get actual engineering drawings. Phase it in. The first phase would be to go ahead with the Veterans and Downing streetscape, which we're prepared that we want to really move ahead and get that done. And then, say, all right, how much money do we have? I was speaking to someone, and they mentioned that when you start adding bike lanes, there are grants for that kind of stuff that we could go after. So it opens up the entire downtown area. It makes it more, I'm going to say, like, just a walkable, community-based. It'll be beautiful. We could have, we could have plantings and a lot of nice stuff, because Commerce Street is actually a nice street. If you go there at night and you look down the street, if you could stand on the top of a Roma building and look down Commerce Street, it's actually very pretty, and I think we capitalize on that, and we also revitalize the businesses, right? We're going to bring more people in. You're going to be able to hopefully park on the street, run into Starbucks, walk across the street, eat at Papoose. I'm hoping that in the coming years, if we do this kind of stuff, it'll invite more restaurants and more businesses that are going to have more outdoor dining, and just create an environment like they have in like a Katona or a Bedford, or an environment like they have in some cities in Connecticut, like Stamford and stuff like that. Something really nice. The traffic will be a lot calmer because it'll be dispersed. You'll have your bike lanes. You'll have your walkability. The sidewalks all over there anyway. And that's why I wanted to hold off on the current RFP and add these other streets. Susan, which streets did you want to add?
Well,
Speaking of Mike.
yeah, I think I like the concept of expanding it and having, let's take a look at the whole of what we want to consider the heart of the downtown Yorktown Heights, and not just do a few streets at a time. That there's no planning. There's no continuity necessarily in that. So building on Sergio's plan, I would like to include Veterans Road from Commerce Street down to Maple Hill, which is, where everybody parks when they want to go to something at the community center building. There's no sidewalk. You're walking in the road. It's very unsafe. And it would give people who walk, and I like to walk, access to the medical building down there, the post office. So I think that's a logical extension because it's part of that. And maybe someday, who knows, maybe the oil tank business will disappear, right? And so maybe we should plan for something else there. I'm not saying, Serafina, if you're listening to me, I'm not saying goodbye to you, all right? But I'm just saying we have to look ahead for the future. Also, I would bring Commerce Street around to all the way around to what is called Lower Commerce Street, or across from Railroad Park, and have it swing around to Underhill Avenue, again, through past Town Hall to 118. I think that's a logical area. I think we don't need to do Front Street because that's strictly industrial, and that's not it. Whether we include the highway parcel or not is questionable. So I support that. I think it's a good idea, and as Sergio said, it's a phased approach. One of the advantages is that we might only say, let's do Downing and Veterans right now. But if somebody comes in with a proposal on one of the other streets, we already have a plan that says, this is what we would like you to incorporate into your plan. If you think about the Turcos building, that is the former Turcos that's now being revised, okay? We knew we wanted to do something on veterans, so we've already required that Turcos, I'll just call it the Turcos development, to extend the sidewalk, all the way down from where the new sidewalk was built when they did the Cafe Libre. I'm mispronouncing, is it Libre? Libre, okay. So that would make one nice significant thing. So this helps for other future plans that the town may not be ready to do because all of this is expensive, but which if a developer comes in and wants to do something with that parcel, we say this is how you conform to our long-range plan. And then I also agree that because this is a very new concept, that we do a totally new RFP, because it might attract some additional people. We don't know.
I think Susan agreed with me like 5 times in a row. This is great. This is incredible. Ed, you got something?
Yeah.
Want me to tell you where I disagree with you on the RFP for EMS? I won't go into that.
I think I heard that already.
So actually, I think that it would probably behoove us to add Underhill coming to Town Hall and the commuter lot. So there's walkability through there as well. I know I'm looking at one person who I know walks the streets quite a bit to go to Dunkin' Donuts, right, Adam? Or you like Giuseppe's too?
Giuseppe's is like $2 cheaper.
There you go.
And it's just as good. I mean, not to denigrate their coffee. And I get a little, nice little walk.
Yep. So that might be great. We have the commuter lot there. We have the bike trailhead there as well. So it could help those that want to drive from a different community, park, and be able to come around. And I think we're also trying to work on getting some work done at the commuter lot. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a great suggestion. I think we add that in, and like you said, somebody could come up, park at the commuter lot, get their bike off their bike rack, jump on their bike around town. You could go to, you'd be able to, with adding that section, you'd be able to bike to, whatchamacallit, our place. You could bike to Rita's. You could walk to Rita's. You could bike to Rita's. You could, and the traffic flow would just kind of come around this way. The only issue and my solution to it is right here, and this area is the CVS parking lot, and this is right at the corner of 118 and 202, Crampon Corners, and basically the one way would start right beyond this blue highlight that I said. I did have a conversation with Phil Greeley several years ago. It would be kind of like a funnel. And so, because the idea is to cut the traffic down on Commerce Street, make it a pocket, make it all kind of like walkable and a little more peaceful. And so right there, you'd be able to still come out, make the left or the right onto 202 and go and leave town. Because if you limit that, if you make it one way from the light, then everybody coming out of the CVS parking lot and the gas station is going to be forced to make either a left turn to go down toward the firehouse or a right turn, which would defeat the purpose and add more traffic, which we're trying to actually avoid. The traffic would flow from 202 straight through down Commerce Street. You would come down 202 just like you normally would. That wouldn't be disrupted. The only thing is that when you're coming down Hanover and you hit the firehouse, you'd be forced to make a left-hand turn there. And then with that traffic flow, again, it has to be vetted. We need a traffic consultant. You would make the left there, come down Commerce, make the right on Downing, make the right on Keir, or come straight up past Town Hall here. So we would, I spoke to a couple of people, and the vision is to have some on-street parking. So this way you could pull up and park. I always say, I know Susan disagrees with me, but if you want to do 3 things on Commerce Street right now, how would you do it? If the 3 things were get a cup of coffee from Starbucks, get some money out of Chase because you need some cash, and eat at Papoose, how would you do it? You'd
walk.
You'd go into
You walk.
You go. Excuse me. You go into Starbucks, right? You deal with the crazy parking there. If we had some on-street parking, you wouldn't be so crazy there. You'd get your latte, cafe latte, or your white chocolate mocha, which is my favorite. And then you would get back in your car. You'd come out. You'd make a right. You'd come down Commerce Street, make a left into Chase. You'd get whatever. You go through the drive-thru, and now you want to go next door. You could leave your car in Chase and get towed, like Susan would. Or then you would have to come and you'd have to make a left and another quick left right into Papoose and park in that thing. So it's crazy. This would kind of, you'd pull up, you'd pull into a spot, and then you'd get out and you'd walk. There wouldn't be so much traffic because the traffic would be cut in half because it would be a one-way.
How many
That has to be
extra
studied.
spots? How many extra parking spots on the street are you talking about? Ballpark.
You're probably talking about on Commerce
plus?
Street. It depends on if you do angled parking or parallel parking, and that's something that has to be studied, and that's something that we would have to discuss here, and that's something that we would get public comment on. Again, this is right now we're just talking about seeing what it would look like. That's what the RFP is about, but you're probably looking at, you're looking at 30, 40, 50 spots just on Commerce Street proper, the top part, from Papoose all the way to the firehouse. And that's pretty much it. Your bike lane would be either, depending on the width of the street that we're talking about, and depending on if it's going to be one way or two way, your bike lane would be anywhere between 5 and 8 feet. And like I said, if you're going to put some parallel parking, it would have to be some angle parking. It would probably be a 5-foot bike lane, which is a standard bike lane. And if you were doing no parking or parallel parking, you could go up to 8 feet on our roads. The roads are very wide. So you'd have a really nice downtown, and that's why I was like, let's take a look at it this way and see what we get out of it. So that's why I want to redo the RFP and send it out, just like you said.
What's your next step? I think we're all agreed that we will
Fantastic.
do an RFP. So are you
So I'm
going
going to speak to Robin at the planning. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
you outlined that you're taking the lead on this. What is your
So I'm
next
going to
steps?
speak to Robin. We're going to, I did review this with her, and I want to get some comments. I think the next step is please send me some of your comments of what you guys would like to see in the amended RFP. And then what I'll do is I'll have them rewrite it. What I'd like to do is get the RFP out. So maybe Ed, if the RFP comes back, we could have a quick meeting and vote to send to send the RFP out, advertise the RFP, and then this way, because we're not here for another couple of weeks, right? Our next meeting is going to be August 4th. So let's get those couple. What is it? August 5th. Sorry, guys. It's August 5th, just so we're clear. And then so this way we have this 2 weeks of lag time. Maybe we could get together, send the RFP out, and have a quick
August 5th
special
if it
meeting.
passes. It has to pass. It's on our agenda tonight to move the date because of National Night Out.
Yeah, right. That's why it's not August 4th, it's August 5th, because it's National Night Out.
I have a suggestion, if the rest of the board is in agreement, since we do want to see the new RFP out, we already know what the guidelines, what we're looking at, we could put a resolution through tonight to put it out, and this would save a little bit of time. Lonnie, you're shaking your head.
I agree.
Sergio?
No, I disagree.
I agree.
I think we've learned from the past that we should vote for the RFP to advertise it when we are agreed to the text. We had this issue with the EMS thing, which was, I think you voted on June 2nd to.
You were almost there, Sergio.
To advertise it. Okay. We had this issue.
I'm only kidding.
No, we had this issue last year on the RFP for the streetscape, all right? And there could be months before the actual text was written, and as we've learned, the text of the RFP is the most critical thing. So I don't think it saves any time, because if you say you're not going to advertise it until you agree on the text, the same time that you've agreed on the text is the time you can vote to advertise the RFP, because
Susan,
the
if I-
text
if
is
I may,
important.
Like you mentioned the EMS RFP. 4 people have responded to me via email based on what we've put out that they're fine with that. So in the essence, there is an agreement, because when we put it to vote, three passes it, 4 locks it. So I understand your point, but we could, once again, the same parameters that it gets sent to everyone. They say yay or nay, and we could send it out. I understand that you want to make sure that your vision is there, and I think in the EMS it is. You don't agree with some of the extra stuff, but that's some of my vision. And as I respect your vision, I hope you would respect mine and other people on the board, because I think it's important that, look, I'm the one who wanted to move forward on the RFP as is, and the vision of the board was to expand it, and the vision Sergio had, and Sergio did a lot of legwork on it, and you were in favor of expanding it as well and resubmitting it. You know what? I'm a big enough man to say, well, I got 1, 2, 3, and now Lonnie is saying 4, that I'm outvoted on it. So, hey, let's move forward, let's get it done, and let's get it out.
I support that. I'd like to get this done, okay? All I'm saying is I don't see a rush to vote to advertise an RFP when we don't even have an RFP text in front of us, all right? Some of the RFPs, like the one for the field home, had to go through several revisions, okay, until we finally agreed on what was it, because it wasn't quite right the first time. Perhaps if this RFP for the streetscape had been more thought had been given to it, we wouldn't have had to say, we wouldn't have wasted that time.
That's not
Well,
that's not fair. That's not a fair
but
statement.
there have been other issues, all right? It doesn't save any time, because if the
Well,
board
how
says,
about-
I'm not gonna advertise it until I see the text, it makes no difference.
How about we go by majority rule, as our votes are supposed to be? So I'd like to make a motion that we refer out an RFP for a much more complete streetscape view of the downtown area, including traffic studies and the new roads as we've spoken about in this meeting, as soon as it's approved by a majority of the board via email.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I support the RFP, but for principles, I'll just oppose this resolution,
Okay.
even though I know the RFP is gonna go forward, because I want the RFP to go forward. I
Thank
just
you.
think the process is kind of ass backwards.
Thank you very much.
Susan, you're voting no?
Yeah.
More
But
divisive,
let-
more
let-
divisive language. We're trying to have a conversation
let-
about
let-
improving
let-
the town and
All
making
right,
it more
all right,
beautiful.
Let the
guys,
minutes,
guys.
let the minutes show that I support the RFP.
All right, I would like to move to resolutions.
Okay.
From the central garage, well, actually, the minutes do, because aren't the official minutes the videotape?
I only have to take down your votes. I don't have to write any of that.
Right.
Well, the community,
I may.
then the residents know that I
may
definitely
not.
support the RFP, but I just think the vote tonight wasn't necessary.
From the central garage, authorized vehicle to be deemed obsolete and either scrapped at Brookfield Metal or sold at auction by Absolute Auctions and Realty, and that is a 2006 Chevy Trailblazer. From the engineering department, approve the extension of special use permit for 7-Eleven gas station located 3451 Crom Pond Road for a period of 1 year. This was the gas station down at the, over by, Pine Brook Court, is that? Pine Brook, down at the
Yeah.
traffic light, Pines Brook.
Yes.
Down by McDonald's.
Yeah, by McDonald's, thank you. And why you throwing fast food out there? You shouldn't be eating that garbage.
I know you can relate.
But there you go. Fair enough. So that they came in before about doing a new awning area there. There was some concern over stormwater that pushed the project. I think they're ready to come back to the table, so they've asked for that to be extended.
Is that officially a 7-Eleven?
I think 7-Eleven owns like the gas station stuff, and they're supposed to be redoing a little of the store there, but
Okay.
it was a while ago that they were in, I think, 22.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
From the finance department, authorize the comptroller to pay Robert Noble the cash value of unused time as his date of retirement, as enumerated below, and to make the transfer the funds for the purpose of the payout from the accounts enumerated. Authorize comptroller to pay Judy Goretto the cash value of unused time as her date of retirement, and then to make the transfer as enumerated. And, you know, Bob, I've spoken to Judy. I unfortunately missed her last day, but good luck to you both, and I hope that you're enjoying your retirement. Authorize the comptroller to pay Gino Argiro the cash value of unused time as of date of resignation. Good luck, Gino. We're also going to further resolve the controller is hereby authorized to transfer funds for the purpose of the payout at resignation as enumerated. And we wish Gino luck in his new career with the county. Authorize the comptroller to propose the following budget transfer for extraordinary legal services as enumerated below.
Can you stop here? I plan to vote for this resolution, but I'd like to make some comments, so I don't know whether you want the comments before, now, or when you're ready
Sure,
to vote.
Susan. Go on.
You want them now? Okay. 2 points. One, I would like to see the town board take a look at the retainer agreement that we have with Bleakley Schmidt, which is the company that provides the town attorney, the planning board attorney, and other attorneys as needed. And I would like to see what services are covered by the retainer fee as opposed to what additional services we are paying for non-litigation for outside counsel fees, all right? Which is what we are paying, we are currently paying Bleakley Schmidt for in addition to the retainer fee, and I'd like that clarified. This is an issue I brought up once before. the board didn't see the need for it, but again, seeing additional fees, I see a need for this. Litigation for outside counsel is a separate issue because the town board has always authorized by resolution hiring outside counsel for very specific purposes where we need specialized legal services. I have no issue with that, only with the retainer thing. And separate but related to this is an issue that I have brought up year after year after year, that the master fee schedule has a fee for our town attorney to charge a fee for different legal services. If a development is going to need an easement, okay, the town attorney has to review the easement, and many other papers related to ongoing developments. The fees could be, some of them are $1,000. I was not on the board when this was approved. And I'm not saying I approve of the fee or the amount of the fee, but it's on the books and it has never been collected. And I would venture to say that if we were collecting those fees for the past 6 to 12 months, we would have gotten the $28,000 that we are now having to take from the general fund. So again, I ask the board to work with the town attorney to look at that. If the town board wants to eliminate the master fee schedule, that's a subject for discussion. But if we have it on the books, we should be collecting it and raising the revenue so we don't have to take it out of the fund balance.
Susan, I'll check, and Adam, maybe you could help me with this, but I seem to remember an irate property owner complaining about the legal fees and wanting to discount them and.
Sure.
Well, I'm not,
But meaning, you're saying they've never been charged.
They've never been charged.
I know they have been because I've gotten complaints about it.
Not
Be able to point.
the fees for developments for hiring consultants. That's a separate fee.
No,
we're not
I'm not talking about
that.
consultants.
There's
I'm talking about
nothing
legal.
here, just explain to me if I'm wrong. There's nothing here on this resolution that indicates these monies have anything to do with uncollected fees from that should have been imposed on residents
You're
or
correct.
developers.
As I said, it's a separate fee, but while we're talking about legal fees, it occurs to me that if we were collecting the
But
fees.
it has nothing to do with this resolution.
It's called
No.
throwing shade, Lonnie.
No,
Okay.
Well, I'm just,
no, it's something that I have raised probably
Yes,
at
you have.
every budget hearing for the last 5 or 6 years.
I don't-
Again, these fees were enacted 2016, 2017, I don't remember exactly.
Let's hear from Adam to
But the
address issue.
the other issue is taking a look at what services are covered by our monthly retainer fee and what services we are being charged for in addition to that. And I'd like to have a clarification. This is obviously a discussion for executive session, but I think it is needed. And
Not
this brought it to
anymore.
my attention again because many months ago, we also had a resolution to take money from the general fund to pay these additional legal fees
Okay.
for outside counsel.
All right, so authorize control of the process of following budget transfer the HVAC installation at the Justice Court in the amount of $109,750. From Parks and Recreation Department, award the bid for the basketball court and volleyball court fencing at Tom Diana Park at Granite Knolls Sports and Recreation Complex. Maybe we should pull that since Jimmy didn't stay. No. Teach him. Let's see. We go through.
Last
it was,
guy on the list.
Okay, that bid will go to WBE Fence Company for $59,962, as the other low bid of $59,500 retracted their bid. From the Office of Town Clerk, approve the town board meeting for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, to be moved to Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, due to Police Department's National Night Out.
She's very demanding, this town clerk person.
She can be. But actually, it was a request from both of us.
Yeah. No, just kidding.
Set the public hearing date to consider the wetland permit application and the stormwater pollution prevention plan permit application submitted by the Town of Yorktown Parks and Recreation Department in order to place excavated clean fill on the northeast portion of property located at Tom Diana Park at the Granite Knolls Sports and Recreation Complex. Set the public hearing date for proposed local law amending Chapter 78 of the Code entitled Procurement for Goods and Services regarding apprenticeship training standards. to be added into our bid language. Approve making certain determinations in relation to the findings, and finding it to be the public interest to establish a water district extension in the town of Yorktown, Westchester County, New York, to be known as Extension Number 1 to Yorktown Consolidated Water District. Let's see. Approve the establishment of Extension Number 1 to the Yorktown Consolidated Water District.
I just want to add that that is subject to permissive referendum, and it does state it on the ballot.
Can you explain what a permissive referendum is?
Permissive referendum really probably should come from our town attorney, but typically speaking, certain resolutions that the town board passes to do certain projects or local laws is subject to public approval, and they have a right to petition for or against or whatever they want to do, but they can have 30 days to do that.
And would this be all of the people in the Consolidated Water District?
It can be,
For
a
this-
petition can be done by all the electors of the town. It doesn't necessarily have to be people just in that district.
Okay, authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer to pay Beardsley Architects and Engineers for Phase 2 of the Field Home Adoptive Reuse Permit. May I have a motion?
don't
I'll make that-
the read-in.
Oh, thank you, thank you,
All right.
thank you.
I won't make it.
Let's see where I put it. All right, and we spoke a little bit about this before. Be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to execute an agreement with Douglas Fishman, radio frequency engineering consultant, to advise the town in its efforts to update and amend Town Code Section 300-59 entitled Wireless Telecommunications Services Facilities in the amount not to exceed $5,000. Now may I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Yorktown, thank you so much. Enjoy the next couple of weeks off. We will see you back here on Wednesday, August 5th. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Yorktown.